let's go ahead and introduce our lovely players here. At the bottom right corner of the map is the blue Terran player representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Give it up for Kier. I was about to actually introduce him as ZEST, but actually here in the top left corner of the map is the red Terran player. Ugh. Okay, I'm getting my my players and races mixed up. Let me correct that. It is the red Protoss player from Raise Your Edge Gaming. Give it up for ZEST. Better word in the chat saying ZEST should win again if Kier is still sleepy. Who knows? Maybe Kier is still sleepy. Although, you know, he's a Terran player, he's got that stim pack. You would imagine whenever a Terran is sleepy, they would just like inject themselves with stim pack and just be wide awake. But who knows? Maybe his stim pack is not grade A, is maybe like grade D or something. It's not quite effective. And just a reminder and a PSA to everyone there, don't do drugs. Not good for you. Anyhow, here on Death Aura, a PvT, I feel like we get actually some really nice, decent PvT action on this map for some reason. I think there's just so many avenues for Terrans to drop and harass and kind of double prong or triple prong attack. There is quite a large amount of area in the middle. Of course, there are those acceleration zones that you gotta deal with, but for the most part, I think like you can fairly get a third base set up pretty easily. Even the fourth base pretty set up easily. So I mean, they tend to go to kind of a more macro game. But of course, with this map, with the acceleration zones, you know, every once in a while you see like one of the players, maybe like the Terran player, just like make a big, huge timing and can get across the map fairly quickly and set up their tanks or whatever. But what do we have here? We have a proxy Stargate coming out here for ZEST. Now ZEST should be pretty wary because of that probe movement there, but I think he might be thinking like, oh, that probe was just like retreating back home. It was just trying to scout around. But actually, no, Kier knows maybe there is something up here. Unfortunately, does not scout in the correct place. Will he turn left? No, he does not. Oh no, so unfortunate there for Kier. If only he had turned left up the stairs. Unfortunately though, does not scout it. But you know what? He's gonna be okay. He's got that cyclone. He elected to go that safety cyclone now. He knows there is something up, especially with that throat movement. And already he is making a bunker. He's getting that cyclone. He's playing so safe. And ZEST, on the other hand, he is not gonna dive in here with the Oracle. Instead, he's gonna go ahead and dive in here, or dive on back into his side of the base. Unfortunately, that does reveal the Oracle with the Reaper. So this Oracle does not really get anything done. But the thing about Oracle is that even if you don't get anything done in the early game, as long as you keep it safe, as long as you don't let it die, it still can make use in the mid stages of the game, even in the later stages with those revelations. But you can still revelate, you can plant stasis ward throughout the game. So Oracle is very useful throughout the early, the mid, and the late game, I would say. So of course, one of the common transition from opening up with Oracle is into Blink Stalkers. And some of you may be wondering why. It's because Oracle actually can help provide high ground vision, whether it's Revelation or whether it's just the Oracle itself. You can use the Oracle to kind of blink up the ramp into the main base. or you can just, you know, just poke in the front, keep the Terran contained as much as possible, while you kind of while you can set up your third and mine from it. So as you can see, ZEST with some nice micro will be able to snip out some SCVs. Only 2, not too bad for Cure. He's not gonna die outright, but still, that does extend the worker lead for ZEST, 56 to 47. And as you can see there, revelates the army. That's gonna be very useful because if the Terran army decides to, you know, do a medevac drop with these bow units, these infantry units, if you can get a nice revelation, and or you can spot it somehow early on, you can use those blink stalkers because kind of snipe out those medevacs. With the Terran player knowing that there are blink stalkers out and about, yeah, he's gonna have to think twice before thinking about dropping into the main base. And here we go. Here is going to go ahead and try to put on some pressure here on the Protoss side of the base, but look at that defensive setup. Got the shield battery, got some shield, not shield battery, got some sentries for those force fields. And yeah, really great force field there. Oh my god, look at that. Trapping even a little bit more Marines. And there's really nothing Kier can do, and he's got to be careful because he does not want to lose this bio bar early in the game to these blink stalkers. You finally will be able to scout the Stargate. Has lived to the 7-minute and 30-second mark. So this Stargate has definitely lived more than it deserved, but that Orko is still alive, does revelate the army, sees that it's out in the middle, and these stalkers actually going to be boldly walking in through here into the dirt base. Gonna go ahead and blink on top of it. He is going to blink with confidence as he sees the army out in the middle. And remember, Protoss has a recall, so he can recall anytime if Kier decides to use that Terran ball and go for a counterattack. So really nicely done there. Gets 6 SCB kills for a couple of stalkers. But because he does lose those stalkers, he is going to be quite low here on the army. He's going to make sure to get these Colossus out and about to at least, you know, utilize that splash damage. You know, Kier has the quantity in army. ZEST at least wants the quality army to kind of even that out. And I am not a fan of ZEST engaging here out in the middle. Like, the surface area for these bow units are just so good. But is one Colossus enough to scare this army? It looks like Kier is backing out, actually. So I was about to say, like, I was a little worried because if this Kier is stemmed and got on top of that Colossus, and that Colossus gets sniped out, I mean, he's fighting away from that shield battery, so it's pretty dangerous for ZEST to engage out in the open. But Kier has decided to back out a little bit. He has actually 2 army groups here, and the left and the right side. So ZEST is going to have to decide whether he wants to defend in the main or in the dirt. Looks like he has some nice blink stalker parked here in the main base, so he should be safe. But a lot of army here on the right side. He does have 1 Colossus, so will it be enough? Nice force field. Nice blink back. Oh, does actually get hit there on the oh, this Immortal being really bold here. At the same time, there is a little bit of an attack here on the main base, and ZEST is a little bit confused as to which side he should send his Colossus ball, and a little bit of indecision. Will lose also the Nexus without a cancel, so the pressure of Kier getting to ZEST He's desperately trying to chrono boost out that charge light so he can start getting on top of this army and not worry about it. But at the same time, another attack and engagement here by Kier. And oh no, there are no shield battery. These Bao units are going to get on top of these Colossus and snipes them down without any Kier in the world. And things are looking quite scary for ZEST. He does have actually a lot of gateway units or gateways to start producing these units. And he will finally at least stabilize here. But he loses those expensive units, those high value units in those Colossus. So yeah, ZEST gotta be careful. Make sure not to lose them. He is kind of basically playing with gateway units right now, which is not great. Maybe if he had the upgrade lead, but it's actually Kier that has the upgrade lead right now, 2-2 versus the 1-1 of ZEST. So Kier is gonna have to make sure these shield batteries are up and running. So and these well, this cannon at the very least, and make sure these disruptor balls actually get some nice hits, because right now he just doesn't have quite the quality in the army, as he only has one Colossus. Now the good thing for ZEST is that his 2-2 is about to catch up, so he won't be too behind in the upgrade. But Kier, he's still keeping up with his double prong attack. He does have sight of the one at the right side with the observer, which is really nicely placed. But he has no vision, absolutely no vision here on the left side, and there's actually not a lot here. He might need to actually recall. He does have cannon in the main base, but at the same time, a Zealot counterattack going for ZEST. A nice disruptor hit gets a nice decent shot, and that should be enough here. That should be enough to defend, it looks like. Charge thought counterattack doesn't get quite as much done. Maybe he gets some nice few SCV kills here, maybe. Nice hold position there. Get some nice extra SCV kills. 9 going down. That's going to go ahead and hold the worker lead here for ZEST a little bit. Of course, there are those meals, so it should even out fairly even. Let's take a look at the income advantage here. Wow, actually heavily in favor of ZEST. So, and I think that's partly due to the fact that he has 4 bases compared to 3. Looks like Kier is finally starting to establish that 4th base. But oh, random Widow Mine. We'll get a nice connection on those charge lot. But oh boy, he went for a huge or a decent medevac drop, but this is going to be as huge as it gets. This is a doom drop in its definition. He's going to have to get some really nice disruptor hits. Oh, that's actually pretty decent one. And yeah, ZEST just needs to recall and he should be fine. Yeah, that was actually pretty well held there by ZEST, I gotta say. So very well done. And now he's going to go ahead and go for a 4 infantry Zealot charge out counterattack. Not going to get too much done, as Kier does have sight of this. These Zealot were on a coffee break, unfortunately. Just standing around doing absolutely nothing. But yeah, it is going to the nitty-gritty of this game as it heads into the 14-minute and 30-second mark. Kier has position 3 medevacs full of units to drop at any given moment. We'll keep an eye out on that, but ZEST gotta start adding that secondary, that third, splash damage units. He's got the disruptors. He only has 1 Colossus, but he needs something else, and that's exactly what he's going for. He's going for that storm upgrade, which is about to be done, and that should definitely help in those engagements, as the majority of Kier's army is in those Bao units. This is quite funny. Thought twice about dropping, but ZEST does respond in time. Yeah, ZEST holding on pretty strong here. Although here does have the supply lead, so he's gonna have to make sure that ZEST is definitely gonna make sure that his army is in position, that he has those static defenses. You see him adding those cannons and those shield batteries. Got a High Templar and a Disruptor on each base, and I gotta say that is kind of really the mark of a really strong player, because many times you see these Protoss players kind of group up their army in like one single ball. They have all their High Templars, all their Disruptors into one army group into their main army. But when you split off like a couple of these, you know, splash damage units like Disruptors and High Templars, got these shield batteries and cannons, your bases are fairly safe. Even if the Terran army commits their whole army to it, at the very least you get a nice efficient trade. You get some nice splash damage on the Terran army, and then hopefully, you know, you can recall your rest of the army to defend, or at least get some warpins to help clean up the rest. In the meantime, we do see Kier playing like a true Terran player, making sure he does not have one army group. He has several, two in fact, and he's just trying to find an opening somewhere. But the main base is oh wow, these are some sexy carriers. Now Kier did actually scout this earlier on because of the drop. He saw the Stargate, the extra Stargate, so he should anticipate some air transition, but he doesn't quite know if it was Tempest or carriers. So you can see now he's not making any Vikings, partly because he doesn't have confirmation of these carriers, but also he doesn't have any supply to really make enough Vikings either way. I mean, he is almost maxed out. He's at 194 to 200 supply, but slowly but surely, ZEST adding those carriers, and that is going to be pretty devastating, as there are literally very few Vikings out there. Let's see how many total of 4 Vikings to 5 carriers. That is not going to. Oh my goodness, that Disruptor ball was so good, and Kier is like, why did I not split or something? What happened? What happened to the micro there? Oh man, that was just a sexy Disruptor splash. And both these players just playing the long game here. Right now, I mean, they both got 3/3 upgrades. ZEST though starting to get the shield upgrade as well as the air upgrades for those carriers. And I think Kira might have some notice of the carriers with those fans or something, because he is starting to add in those Vikings, and he's definitely going to need to get as much of Vikings as possible. You know, that's losing to that big Disruptor ball, that might not actually be the worst thing, because it did free up some supply to make those to add in those extra Vikings, right? So maybe actually work out in favor of Kier. Who knows? He does have a nice bank, so you know, losing that Bow ball wasn't quite as devastating. He can't afford to do so. But on the other side, ZEST also has a nice bank of his own, so yeah, I think I would still, you know, lean the advantage towards to ZEST, but ZEST should not let up at any point. Here we go. ZEST is going to go ahead and start getting on top of this base here, this expansion, and they're just really literally nothing for these carriers, these interceptors. You're getting on top of the army now. The reinforcements will be making its way to the left side here. Nuke coming down on to this right side base. Unfortunately, ZEST does not have an eye on this. Only loses a couple of cannons, so not too terrible. But ZEST is going to go ahead and start killing the rocks, making a nice pathway, an extra pathway through the middle. And that Oracle who has survived throughout this whole game, making use with that revelation, getting an eye and vision on where the Terran army is, making sure he doesn't get like sandwiched or flanked somewhat. But here we go. That is a lot of Vikings. Where are the High Templars? You really need some High Templars to help kind of keep the Vikings at. Okay, it's right underneath. Yeah, right underneath. Oh wait, is that sentries? No, those are sentries. Not, those aren't High Templars. Oh my goodness, this could be actually really, really scary. Okay, there we go. Finally, ZEST brings in those High Templars. He's gonna really need to get some nice storm on those clump of Vikings. That would be huge, actually. But if a huge EMP goes down on the High Templars, then that could also be devastating for the Protoss. So it's really gonna come down to the engagements. And another nuke here, but unfortunately, this is not a really important base here. It's actually pretty much mined out, except with a few gases. So ZEST not gonna lose too much to that nuke. All right, we're heading to that very, very late game, so it's gonna come down to really army composition as well as army engagement. Kind of adding those spellcaster units as well. ZEST will go ahead and make its way to the north left side. We'll get on top and shut down this base. But these nukes are just non-stop. And oh, actually this might be pretty huge, as these two cybernetic core are researching those air upgrades. Right now, ZEST is kind of leaning more and more towards an air army, so those upgrades are going to be pretty important. Does not want to lose those cybernetic cores. We will be able to take out that ghost. But yeah, I like what ZEST is actually doing here. Kind of trading out, or at least potentially trading out these stalkers for some extra SCVs. These stalkers are really not useful at this point of the game. Yeah, they could, you know, try to get on top of the Vikings, but they're really, really not that great in the late game. So you'd rather much have Tempest added instead of Stalker as added towards this late game. Right, Liberty is going to go ahead and siege up here on the left side, but there are a lot of carries and Tempest. I still feel like he needs to add the High Templar somewhere to make sure he doesn't lose this carrier fleet. A bunch of disruptors being thrown out there. Doesn't quite connect with too much. And here we go. These Vikings actually not focused firing on these carriers. Finally does target its target in these carriers, and as you can see, he just goes down so quickly without having any storm to protect them, and that is a huge blunder there by ZEST. Now he does have a lot of minerals and gas banked up, but boy, that was a lot of carriers going down. That is a lot of units that got to be replenished, and carriers are not the fastest in terms of production. It takes a lot of time. And you can see ZEST not even really trying. He is just going to go and invest in a huge bunch of DTs. I I don't know if these DTs can clean. Oh, actually, you know what? Never mind. Actually, does scare the Terran army back. It does push the Terran army back at home, but once Kier goes for that secondary attack, that follow-up attack, I don't see these DTs doing too much damage, and these DTs pretty much took up all the bank of ZEST. He's kind of investing back into gateway units, which is not the greatest, not what you want in the late game, not what you want at the 25-minute mark. And he's going to have to make some work out of these DTs to make use of them. because right now there's just no way he can rebuild that carrier fleet. So yeah, he is just going for pure gateway. He's adding 6-7 charge slots as well into this army. And here we go. This is a very interesting army, but you know what? Where is the army of Kier? Okay, there we go. Reinforcements finally joining up here. And yeah, this army just does not look really scary here for ZEST. And Kier takes the fight with ease and will take the series. Or not the series. Takes game 1 of the series. What a game. What a game. That was the longest game of today, by the way. Wait, was that? Yeah, that was the first game, right? Yeah, I believe it was the first game of the series. I just want to make sure. Yep, there we go. I was a little worried I didn't update the scoreboard, but anyhow, what a game number 1. Now I am curious how game number 2 is going to go. Now, game number 2 is going to take place on Romanticide LE here. Will we have ourselves a 25-minute plus game, or will it go much quicker? We shall see. Either way, that was a really great game there by both players. I feel like ZEST actually kind of missed his chance. He was kind of sitting on like 5 carriers versus 4 Vikings. I think he should have actually attacked at that point. I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? I mean, you know, ZEST wasn't able to see what Kier really had, so he wasn't 100% sure. But I feel like if ZEST was able to attack at that point with very little Vikings, I mean, he could have just overwhelmed. Instead, he just kind of sat back defensively. But the hugest mistake there, I would say, from ZEST is that he did not add in those High Templars to the fight. Can you imagine how much differently that fight would have gone if he had High Templars added to those Carrier and Tempest fleet with those Disruptors as well? It would. I feel like it would have been a much different fight. But either way, here in Romanticide, we have in the top left corner of the map, he's the blue Terran player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Make some noise for Kier. And spawning here at the bottom right corner of the map, he is the red Protoss player representing Raise Your Edge Gaming. Give it up for ZEST. Alright, so this map, of course, does have this area right here where maybe stalkers can blink in, and because you know the add-ons are gonna be towards the right side, I could definitely see ZEST opening up with blink stalkers. If you can kind of blink up and snipe off the add-ons, that would be huge, and then you can blink back down, snipe off the bunker if there is a bunker. So we'll see if ZEST does open up with blink stalkers in this game. Instead, actually, never mind. It's gonna open up with a proxy Stargate. Now, he did actually open up with a Stargate and then went to Oracle and then transitioned into blink stalkers, which is actually a pretty nice build here. It didn't work out for him in game number 1, but I would definitely say it's a pretty viable build here in game number 2. Now, I wouldn't say that opening of ZEST cost him the game. I would mainly say because of the last huge engagement with the carriers, not having the High Templars to protect it, Vikings getting on top of the carriers, sniping them off one by one. I think that was the main reason why ZEST lost that game. The opening actually worked out pretty okay for ZEST. I mean, he was able to kind of establish that third nexus fairly quickly, fairly easily. And he actually, at a certain point, was pretty, I think, okay, in great shape. Either ahead or slightly ahead. And had a very big possibility of winning that game. So, I'm not mad at him kind of opening up with the same build here. Now, we do see an armory, a very quick armory coming out of here. You would imagine that is for the Widowmine, the ability for the Widowmine to be invisible once it's burrowed. So here we go. Widowmine drop coming out here for Kier. I think it's in the flight path of the Stargate though. Oh yeah, it is. So both these players will have a idea what. Oh wow, is he gonna drop here? Will he drop? Nope, he is going to head straight into the main base. But Phoenix will be greeted. It will be the medevac will be greeted by the Phoenix immediately. It will force him to change trajectory, or will he commit? Yep, he is going to commit. Oh boy, he does lose his one of the Widowmine in the medevac. A nice lift off here. These Widowmines just not getting any damage done. Maybe this one Widowmine actually. Oh no! Oh, no more lift off. Oh man! A nice revelation though will reveal it. So very minimal losses. Two probes for 4 Widowmines and 1 medevac. Oh, let me take out that units lost tab there. Okay, that took out a lot more, so really well done there. A kind of a follow-up Widowmine drop. However, Kier still has to deal with these Phoenixes. If those Phoenixes goes for Kier's base and kind of start lifting off those SCVs, then maybe he can kind of make up for the worker loss that he had. 11 probes, 3 SCVs gone down for Kier though. Funny enough, this probe still here chilling. Now you would say, oh, okay, that's a lot of probes going down, but you know what? Kier invested a lot into this build. He actually opened up with 1 base off the bat. He just now got his 2nd base, so that means that all this time ZEST is able to chrono boost out of 2 nexuses to kind of crawl himself back in the worker count. He is sitting at 37 to 32. Kier, keep in mind though, Kier does have a quick 3rd CC, so ZEST is definitely want to make sure to start or continue chrono boosting out those probes and kind of get a decent worker lead, so that by the time that 3rd CC is up and running, that he will at least have a decent lead there to make sure that he keeps ahead in the economy. Alright, looks like the Widowmine drops has finally ceased for the time being. Looks like Kier is starting to transition into Marine and Tank. Yeah, he has switched off the factory off. He is gonna... Oh, interesting. We don't see this every day. I mean, we see it every blue moon, but usually we see medevacs with Widowmines, but not quite as common as medevacs with Hellbats. Yeah, there's really not a lot here. There's actually a shield battery in the natural, so that should at least help out a little bit with that Hellbat drop. But looks like ZEST is gonna go ahead and transition into Colossus, which is it does make sense. I mean, when you open up with Phoenixes, you know, if you can transition to Colossus, at least you have the Phoenix to distract the Vikings. So it forces the Terran player to choose whether to focus fire the Vikings on the Colossus or the Phoenixes. Either way, That's kind of the strong point of going for Phoenix Colossus. You gotta force the Terran to choose, and sometimes it's an easy choice, and sometimes it's not actually a hard choice. Alright, nicely done there. Zest is gonna split his Phoenix around to scout any incoming drops, and he does scout this, so really nicely done there, catching this. These two Hellbats does turn into Hellions, but these Phoenixes should be able to lift them off, no problem. Alright. Looks like Kier has finally established that dirt. Getting that STEM research. Again, he did commit to that Widowmine drop early on, so his tech was kind of slowed down here. Only now getting that STEM finish. In the meantime, we do see that Zest already got 3 Colossus out. He is going to go ahead and start adding those Archons as well. Not actually teching into Storm yet, but he might possibly be adding Storm later on. But he can actually probably make a ton. Oh, as I say that, nice little stasis ward here. Gonna catch a couple of SCVs. At the same time, he was able to harass a little bit with the Phoenix. And we can see in the income graph, momentarily, Kier did get a little bit of a jump from that dirt base, but with that stasis ward, does reclaim the income lead, and now that income lead just goes away with that Widowmine drop. But either way, it looks like Zest was distracted because of this attempted attack here at the front. But look at that concave here; it's pretty strong. There are some tanks out there. It does get lifted by the Phoenixes. These Colossus are actually still alive as he's being pulled, and these Colossus are still standing, no problem. And that is so unfortunate for Kier. Just doesn't have quite enough to deal with the Protoss army ball. And that is one of the strong suits of having a Colossus Phoenix army. And now Zest ties up the series 1-1. We got ourselves a series, boys. And yep, he just bulldozed through, losing a lot of pros. But I mean, who cares about pros when you have the army to just outright beat your opponent, right? I mean, throughout that whole game, he was just building up that huge army. The reason why he skipped out Storm Tech was because he wanted as much gas to get as much Archons out. That's those Archons in combination with the Colossus, and then in combination again with the Phoenixes to be able to lift up those tanks and kind of render them useless during that fight. Even though Kier had a nice concave up in the ramp, those Colossus were still standing. Those Archons were tanking a lot of the damage, and yeah, he just had way better army, way more army than Kier. I mean, Kier was like investing in so much Widowmines and so much Medivacs as well. Just was like slowly building his army, but Zest was able to attack him in a really great timing and just outright kill him. So well done there by Zest. Nice defense there. A lot of Protoss player would die to that opening because Widowmine drops can sometimes be a pain to deal with. You gotta babysit the mini-map, making sure that you catch every Widowmine drop at every second. You don't want to if you're 1 second late in pulling your probes and that one Widowmine hits a clump, that could be game ending. So really great and fantastic defensive play there by Zest. Let's see if we can replicate that in game number 3 here on Pillars of Gold. Spawning at the bottom left corner of the map. He's the blue Terran player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Cure. And spawning here at the top right corner of the map. His building is painted in red. And he's looking for blood. From Raise Your Edge Gaming, give it up for ZEST. Catharsis saying in the chat, Cure and ZEST are similar in that you never know which version of them will show up. And yeah, I think about it, and I actually agree with you. Like, ZEST can sometimes look like the best player in the world at one point, and then all of a sudden, like in another event, he looks like he has like tapped out or something, or just not quite as sharp, and doesn't look like he's the best Protoss in the world. And then on the other hand, Cure, I feel like maybe he's lost a little bit of motivation. At one point, he can look like the best Terran in the world, or compete as the best Terran in the world. But at the same time, he can have like very, very poor results in another event, or even another series. I remember back then, I forgot which tournament it was. It was maybe, I'd say maybe IEM. He said that he kind of really didn't practice much. Kind of lost his passion a little bit, but he just ended up winning for some reason. And then he was like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting to win, but I won the tournament. I guess that was great." But yeah, we could see some lapse of passion. I feel like from Cure. Hasn't quite had the best results this season, or this year rather, compared to the other Terran players. And yeah, have a lot of like really not so great results, but also like maybe one couple events he has a decent result. So very, very up and down, just like ZEST is. I feel like if ZEST was a bit more consistent, like Stats was, he would probably be the best Protoss in the world right now. Like I'm pretty sure, because Stats not having the greatest year either. I mean, he's still, Stats is still considered the best Protoss in the world, but I mean, he's not like, he still hasn't really had like the breakout performance or the breakout win this year. I believe there hasn't even been besides Neeb and Australia, there hasn't been a single Protoss that has won a premier tournament this year. So, and of course, Neeb and Australia did win the premier tournament only because there's America's region, or America's season finals. So that's only the reason why Australia and Neeb won. All right, looks like we're going for Phoenix once again by ZEST. I mean, it did work out pretty well for him last time. It did really well in dealing with the Widowmine drops. This time around, Kieran not going for the Widowmine drop as of yet. He is adding an army finally, but it looks like he's gonna go for a let's see here. Yeah, the same Marine siege tank type of army composition. Yeah, it looks like a pretty normal game, actually, as normal as it has been. There was a few attempted harass here by the Hellions, but ZEST is just on top of it. ZEST is just a really great defensive and offensive player. He's just a really all-around great player, to be honest. I just feel like maybe some of his the decision making may be holding him back, and then also his inconsistency as well. But here we go. Kira gonna go ahead and attempt a Widow Mine drop. Once again, gets shut down by these Phoenixes. This Widow Mine does get 1 kill, but definitely not what Kira is looking for. Let's see, total of 1 probe for, again, 1 Widow Mine, a medevac. A couple of SCVs gone down as well. Now it's time for ZEST to go for the counter and try to get some worker harass himself. And already is finding more workers than his Widow Mines did, unfortunately for Kier, but oh, ZEST gotta be careful. Oh, just if Kira was able to kind of target fire with that turret, he would have been able to snipe down a Phoenix, but all 6 Phoenixes will come out unscathed, and or not unscathed, but rather alive. So really lucky there for ZEST. More gateways added for ZEST. Now, interestingly enough, he has not gone for Colossus this time around. Has actually gone for a Templar Archive off the bat. So he has skipped the Colossus tech, and he has gone straight into Templar Archive. Now, whether this is for Quick Storm or just for a bunch of Archons, and just like go for a timing, because these gateways are finishing up very soon, he can probably go for a timing attack if he wanted to with a bunch of Archons, a lot of Phoenixes, a lot of charge lots. And what does Kier really has against that? He does have a good amount of Marines, but those are going to die very badly to those Archons and those charge lot. The saving grace will be these Widow Mines if he can get some really nice connections, but he only has 4 Widow Mines. Just not enough for what ZEST is going to have, because he is working off of a bunch of gateways. That is a lot of gateway, guys. ZEST does spot this move out here, and this is going to get pretty ugly for the Terran player, because oh wait, actually ZEST gotta be careful. He does not have quite the amount of army yet to deal with this. He needs another round of warpins. More. Okay, there we go. Looks like ZEST has decided to go on dive on top of this Bao army. Does he have enough? These Phoenixes are taking a lot of these medevacs down. Not a lot of energy to repair and heal these Marines, but it's okay because all these charge lot has dissipated, and now ZEST got to retreat, and he is going to have to rely on these last few charge lot to clean up the rest of the Bao army. But it is getting very scary. Kir is ahead by almost 20 or so army supply. Another round of warpins does commence. Those Archons trying to morph in, but unfortunately Archons does not warp in fast enough, and losing a bunch of these charge lot once again to this Widow Mine. ZEST is just barely hanging on. Can he stabilize? He has thrown down a bunch of more shield batteries. Definitely going to help. But this Cure army is on +1/1 upgrade compared to the +1 of ZEST. And here we go. Widow Mine's getting lifted off. Really nice pick off. Can these Archons, this Immortal, clean up the rest? The Phoenixes are actually surprisingly still alive, and actually cleaning up the rest of the medevacs. And I think this is kind of the turning tide here. Now keep in mind, Trier has not gotten the dirt base yet. So as long as ZEST holds this, he is going to be so much infinitely ahead in terms of the economy. And that's going to be huge. Yeah, he doesn't even have a... Okay, there we go. He just finally lifts off the dirt base. But ZEST sitting at 64 workers versus 41. You can see in the income graph, all ZEST. And then look at the army supply. For the longest time, here is has been ahead, but ZEST is closing in slowly but surely. And now, +2 is about to finish for ZEST in terms of the weapons, and then you combine that with with a blink upgrade. I think ZEST should be fine. Although it's clearly not over yet for Kier. I mean, he still has 3 bases. He still has the +1 upgrade, 1 upgrade ahead. His army is still pretty strong, and yeah, ZEST has got to be careful. Besides the Archon, he doesn't really have a lot of splash damage yet. So really it's going to come down to how those Widow Mines connect with those charge lot. I think if ZEST can initiate some of the Widow Mines with a few charge lot and then dive on in with the rest, he might be able to clean up the rest of the Bao army. But here, abusing the terrain of this map, getting on top of the cybernetic core, forcing ZEST to remake that. But ZEST has a really nice setup with a 2 army groups, one on the left, one on the right. And just kind of slowly holding on here. Now, keep in mind the Phoenix are still alive, so Kira's got to be careful if he decides wants to drop. Attempted charge lot run by does get cut off here in the middle, and Kira's going to go ahead and maneuver to the left side. ZEST gotta rejoin his whole army right now. This army is just not quite as huge as he wants it. Finally, Stalkers join up into the fight, but all the Archons are done. They get sniped off here. He's only down to 2 Phoenix now, so these medevacs can feel pretty safe. Oh man, this is gonna be tight. This is still a tight game, anyone's game from this point forward. Now the storm tech though is about to finish. That is going to be huge. Does he have any High Templars though? I don't think so. Let's take a look. Yeah, no High Templars. He's finally warping in those High Templars. He's going to have to wait for those energy to build up. But once he does have enough energy, those storm on those bio units are going to be so good. Even with the +1 upgrade advantage that he has over ZEST, if you can get a nice decent storm, that kind of turns the tide and evens it out at least somewhat. Oh man, ZEST, you gotta retreat with these Stalkers. Fighting Bio with a Stalker, never a good thing, but he is still distracted by this army here at the south side, or the right side rather. The Terran army does get the cancel on the Nexus, so really nice pressure here by here. ZEST gotta decide which area he wants to send his army to. A nice storm there does weaken it, does weaken the army very much. He still needs to contend with this army in the left side though. So right now he's moving here to the left side. The shield battery overcharge gets initiated, but ZEST does hold on, and that's the most important thing. But he really needs to get that 4th base. I mean, actually the Terran army actually gets the 4th base much quicker. That's already saturated right there. Yeah, ZEST does not want to fall further and further behind. You gotta count those mules as well off of 4 orbitals, and let's take a look. Yeah, that throughout the whole game, ZEST has been ahead in the income graph, but all of a sudden you can see it has switched over to the Terran. So right now, ZEST needs to get something done with this army. Looks like we have a somewhat of a base trade scenario happening right here. Here does have a nice little concave, but he's got to be careful not to get stormed too heavily. And right now, here it's going to go ahead and dive into the natural. ZEST as well diving into the natural up here. So let's see if ZEST can clean up the majority of what Terran has and then recall, maybe he has a chance. But I would say Kier has the head start here. He is taking down a bunch of bases rather quickly. Kier still has more bases. He actually left off his main base into the to the 9 o'clock position. So yeah, this is this is going to be a pretty awkward fight. Actually, ZEST deciding not to go for the recall. He is going to go ahead and go on for the full base trade here. And I feel like this is going to be pretty in favor of ZEST because, not ZEST, because, favoring of Kier, because, you know, in the base rate scenario, usually that favors Terran. I mean, Terran, you can see, just can float around. ZEST doesn't have anything to deal with the floating buildings. I don't think he has any Phoenixes left. Yeah, no Phoenixes left. So right now, all he can hope for is a tie against Kier. But Kier, though, has still a huge army. But on the other side, ZEST still has a lot of High Templars. If he can get some nice storms, maybe or so he can force a tie. But at the very least, Kier, all he has to do is just lift off his building, kill the Protoss buildings as fast as possible, and he should be fine. The question is, can he engage into this army? Maybe a nice split or so. Maybe he needs to pull some of his work. Actually, never mind. He has only 9 workers. I was about to say, if he had a bunch of workers, maybe he can kind of pull them and use them during the fight as well. But yeah, right now, Kier is down to 9 workers. ZEST, on the other hand, down to 14 workers. He is just relying on defending this base. It's gonna really come down to micro at this point. Army supply is in favor of Akira, but I think right now ZEST's army is better in terms of quality. He has 5 Archons versus 0 Ghost. It's really gonna come down to the split. It's gonna come down to possibly the mobility and maneuvering of Kier. But at this point, what I think is best for Kier is just to hang on, just to prolong the game, get that economy running so you can start making more units to potentially deal with what the Protoss has. And right now the Protoss deciding, okay, this is my chance. I have the better army, I have the storms, and here we go. ZEST is gonna go ahead and attempt to dive on here and there and get on top of the Bound army, but a lot of missed storms. And oh, ZEST gotta be careful, he only has 1 storm left. If ZEST does not hit with that last storm, it could potentially get ugly for the Protoss. And here we go. The last storm has been thrown down. Archon's going to go ahead and morph in. And some of actually the morphing Archons kind of block the other Archons in some way. And now with, oh my god, what is going on? Yeah, I think Makira might barely just hang on right now. Yes, he does. All the Archons, all the Immortals has gone, and he's just left with 2 Stalkers. No production to follow the up, and ZEST falls to Kier. Kier takes the game and the series 2-1. Of course, this is the best of series, so he is still 1 game away from clinching the series. But boy, was that a crazy game. So tight and so close at the end. Really, I think it could have gone either way, but I think Kier had some nice kiting, some nice splitting, and also ZEST engaging in the area where there was just blockage of barracks. Just not the best place to fight. But yeah, that was that was a really close game there at the end. Boy Fantasy saying Kier winning only using MMM. Yep. I mean, with the micro and caliber that Kier is at, sometimes all you need is some MMM to win. Just some nice kiting, some nice splitting, some nice, you know, firing and kiting. Yeah, it's just sometimes you can win. Just not quite enough storms. I think the storms at the end didn't connect as well as he wanted to, as much as he hoped so, and he kind of spammed it and kind of used his energy unnecessarily. I feel like he could have hold on some of those storms and then force the Terran back at home and kind of like get on top of the production buildings and the mineral mining. Because, you know, Kier can't engage into the Protoss army until ZEST runs out of storms. So yeah, as long as he, you know, saving enough storms, then, you know, ZEST is the one forcing the matter, and Kier has to play defensive. Once that storm is ended and he turns into Archons, Kier can just go on the offense, even pull some the little remaining SCVs, which you didn't even really need to. You just had enough bow units to clean up the rest. So unfortunate there for ZEST, but anyhow, spawning here at the... Oh, let me go ahead and switch scenes here. Spawning here at the bottom right corner of the map, it is the blue Terran player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Give it up for Kier. Annoyingly dealing with this block engineering bay. Here at the top left corner of the map is the red Protoss from Raise Your Edge Gaming. Needs this game to push it to a 5th and decisive match. Can he do it, guys? It is ZEST. I wish I read Korean at situations in situations like these where the players are just typing in Korean. Sometimes I wish I knew how to speak Korean to know what the players are saying, and then also I would love to wish I knew how to speak or read Japanese, because that would be helpful in those animes. So instead of reading the subtitles, then you can just like watch without reading the subtitles. Now I actually personally don't have any trouble reading subtitles in animes, but I mean, it definitely would help to not have to read it and just focus on the video instead. All right, looks like a little bit of a pause here. Hopefully it's not too bad. Looks like ZEST is ready to go, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. But what do we have here? We have a proxy pylon, and you know what? I have seen ZEST go for a 3-gate pressure build full of stalkers, and if the Terran does not scout this, it usually actually works out pretty well for them. Here though is going for a high ground CC. If Kier does not make a bunker anytime soon, Kier is going to have to oh wow, that is not good. Losing a Reaper. Firstly, he is going to be just mainly relying on Marines against Stalker, which is never a great thing. Okay, this could actually be pretty bad here for Kier. Oh my god, he's even adding a 3rd command center. This might just be GG, a straight GG from Kier, because that... Oh wait, actually this is not gateway. Never mind. It is a Stargate. Okay, never mind. Okay, so before, like, I've seen games where ZEST went for the 3-gate pressure with Stalker, so I was anticipating that maybe he can go for that, but yeah, this makes sense too. A proxy Stargate, also pretty common. Unfortunately for Kier, he went for the fast 3D CC, which means that he's not going to have any Cyclones or much Widow Mice to defend against this, and yeah, this actually might catch Kier off guard. He only has a few Marines. I think he can straight up just face the Marines with the Oracles. Actually catches 2 of them out here, and already things not going too well here for the blue Terran player. Imagine if ZEST actually followed up with a 2nd Oracle. That could have actually been really disastrous, but you know what? Losing 4 SCVs and 2 Marines, I think under the situations, that wasn't too shabby. Not too bad for Kier. At the very least, right now he knows what's up. He can position his Marines in the mineral lines. But losing all those 3 SCVs in the early game, not what you want. And already ZEST is having a 10 worker lead before the 5-minute mark. Maybe if this was the 10-minute mark, it wouldn't be so horrible, but before the 5-minute mark, that's not great for the Terran. Certainly not over yet for Cure, but Zest with the dirt base is going to go ahead and start getting more and more ahead. As Artosis once said, when ahead, get more ahead. And that's exactly what Zest is going for. Playing it safe, going for that Phoenix composition. Oh, actually, you know what? Never mind. He only went for one Phoenix. So just going to go ahead and tech early. Investing those gas into a robotics facility. Getting that blink upgrade. Getting some more gateways. I'm interested to see what Zest is going to go for in terms of army composition, because he has yet to throw down a robotics facility or a Templar archive. It looks like he's just relying on blink stalkers to defend this third base for the time being. But once the third base gets established and the economy starts rolling, I should expect him to start adding more tech to his army. Or he might just go up for a straight up like mass blink stalker like attack. Wouldn't that be a doozy? I mean, with this blink stalker micro, you could possibly just overwhelm the Terran, especially since it doesn't have a lot of medevacs. Only has 2 medevacs in the army there. A lot of them are in yellow life, so yeah, I think with this revelation, seeing the composition of Kier, I think Zest kind of sees the opportunity to kind of dwindle this army down, especially since there are only very few marauders. A lot of them are in Marines, so as you can see, a lot of units being warped in very, very soon. Warp Prism joining of the army here. Oh, gotta be careful. Does not want to get force field here out in the middle between these rocks. Don't want to be caught between the rocks in the hard place. More stalkers being warped in. Blink is done. And here we go. Zest gonna go ahead and get on top of this third CC. With some nice force field, you can actually segment some of these bow units. Zest being very, very careful when to move in and out. But Kier, nice playing there, getting some nice surface area to kind of render the force field useless, as much as useless as possible. But that's a lot of stalkers here, and these are, I mean, granted, these are not upgraded stalkers, but those are some really scary stalker army force in combination with these sentries. Now, Zest doesn't really need to finish Kier off here with this attack. Already, I feel like this has been a success in disrupting the economy of Kier, forcing him to lift off that dirt CC. And right now, he's not mining. He's just basically on 2 bases. And he is kind of wasting or trying to force Kier to stim, to waste some of the energy. Kier trying to be careful not to overstim. So he does have a lot of medevacs, so, but not a lot of energy on each of them. So he's got to be careful. Oh man, Zest doing a really nice job segmenting half of the army there of Kier. And here we go. Kier is going to go ahead and stim and dive on in, pulling the SCVs. Some force field disrupting some of the movement here of the bow army, but eventually these infantry units will make it through and slip on through, and Zest loses the battle horribly. I mean, yeah, stalkers, sentries, just not the greatest composition against stim marines and marauders with those medevacs.